page from your HumAI test prototype web app, you want to configure some settings. So actually from here, you'll want to go to deployment and then deployment center. Okay, make sure that the source is container registry, and then some of these other settings will change in the next step. But I think for now, make sure that continuous deployment is checked. And then in this config portion, you want to do a slight edit. So make sure that the chat service is above the server service. So you'll actually want to cut this and then paste it on top of server. Just checking the indentation here. Yeah, so I think that's good. Okay. Right, just checking the indentation there for a couple of lines, and then after you do that, hit save. Okay, so that looks good. Next, you'll want to work on the environment variables for the web application. So if you go to settings, environment variables, you'll see that nothing is created yet here apart from this Docker enable CI. So we can add environment variables through the, again, Azure CLI. So go back to VS Code and into your terminal. You should have access to this web app settings.json. So there should be a template for you to access. You can save that into your deployment directory under Data Recipes AI. From here you can fill it out and push all of these environment variables to the web app. So you can go through this. Assistance API key, again, that's from your environment file. Just copy over your API key. Note also that since this is in a JSON, everything will be, all the values will be in quotations. So API type is your Azure, and then the API version for your assistant, base URL for your assistant, and then the bot name you gave it earlier. Then again, your assistant ID, which was defined in an earlier step, you can fill that out. And then the model name was GPT-4o Mini. And then for this Azure Open API key, that's going to be the same value as your assistant's API key. And then for your data DB connection string, you'll want the actual string from that. So you can use a similar method to an earlier step on how to get this easily. And then next is the Docker registry server password. So from here, you'll have to go back to your Azure portal and then go into your container registry. So here we are, DKDS test. Go into settings on the left hand side, and access keys. And then first, I think this would be disabled, so you want to click on admin user. Then you'll have a username and a password. So now you can fill out this portion. So for the password, you can click on show, copy this, paste that in there, and then the Docker registry server URL. That's this one, the login server, and then next is the username, DKDS test, so that's your username here. So you can fill out that portion. Port will be 80. The next portion will be, again, some database settings. So the database that we created earlier in Azure was HumAI test, and then the endpoint for that. And then you have the port, password, and data user. Similarly, for the recipes database settings, again from an earlier step, these are the same values as your DataDB settings. And then recipe server API, we'll set that as server 8080. And then the recipes base URL, that's similar to what we had in our base URL for the assistant. These next settings for the LLM model are again just from the environment file. So we have a similarity cutoff, model name for the recipes, max tokens, and then setting a temperature. And then again, these last ones, API endpoint, type, and version. Again, this was from the environment file that settings when you created the recipes model. And then as well as the text completion deployed model, and then another cutoff setting, and then web port 8000. Create these environment variables in the Azure Web App. So I'll do that through the Azure CLI. So go to your terminal and type in AZ Web App, and then config app settings, and then set, and then we'll give the name of our web app. So ours is HumAI test prototype, and then we'll give a resource group. Again, for this example, it was DKDS prototypes, and then settings, the actual JSON file, beginning with an @ so that is located in deployment, and name of the file. Hit enter. Okay, so that should have run successfully, and if you go back into your web app, HumAI test prototype, go into settings. Now we can see that the environment variables are set for everything that was contained in that JSON file. Okay, great. So last step should be to test the actual web application. So you can go back into your overview page, hit on the default domain. You can open that in another tab. Still showing an application error, but that's because you'll want to restart the app now that the environment variables have been set. So give that a moment.